Everyone, I am here with a new tag video. I love doing tag videos. They are just, to me, they're the most fun to watch and the most fun to make. And this tag was created by Jen Phelps, who I have admired for a very long time over on Instagram and now on YouTube as well. If you don't watch Jen and you are looking for someone who is just so exact and exacting when it comes to makeup reviews, specifically mostly drugstore, go check out Jen's channel. She is incredible and a very nice human being to boot. All right, so I have the questions printed out. I have my stuff assembled. I have my dogs milling about and the sun is setting. So let's get into this. Question number one, if you could only use one drugstore / affordable brand, what would it be? So let me stop and address drugstore / affordable. I think I did a pretty good job of only actually discussing drugstore. I think using affordable is really cheating because ColourPop and BH Cosmetics and some of the brands that you can really only find at Ulta or through the internet, I feel sort of defeat the purpose of drugstore. Because when I first started getting into makeup, to me, a drugstore makeup brand was one that I could throw a few little things in my cart while I was grocery shopping or picking stuff up at CVS, Walgreens. Wouldn't really tip my weekly budget for grocery shopping and things like that, but I could just start slowly adding things to my makeup collection. If we're talking about making a special trip to Ulta or a special trip to the internet to order some of this stuff, we're blurring the lines a little bit. So I'm trying to be a purist about this. The one drugstore affordable brand I would use would probably be Flower Beauty if it was still widely available at Walmart, because there is a product in every single category that they make that I enjoy. I would be okay with, not okay, I would be thrilled. They haven't completely pulled out of Walmart, but there are seriously less inventory at Walmart. I would say the next one would probably be Marnie. They don't have a foundation I love, but I can make what they have work, and I pretty much love everything else they make. You know what? I take that back. I think it's gonna have to be L'Oreal, because if you don't get the foundation just right, anything else you put on top just kind of and they have something in literally every category that would work for me. So I'm gonna go with L'Oreal. All right, we're already changing answers. All right, number two, what's the most underrated drugstore brand? I would have to say, and I'm guilty of this, Revlon. So Revlon doesn't have the flashiest social media presence. I never see them doing collabs with influencers, which probably doesn't help them as far as visibility goes. I don't even really notice displays in the grocery store or drugstore, but their products are just workhorses. They consistently come out with great products that just aren't flashy, and nobody, including me, talks about their stuff on a regular basis. So I'm gonna have to go with Revlon. Revlon's the most underrated. Number three, what is the most overrated drugstore brand? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that none of them are really overrated, because at these price points, I have lower expectations. So if something doesn't quite work out, it's not exactly the end of the world. But if I'm going to a department store, I'm paying 30, 40, 50 and up for something and I'm disappointed, to me that's a greater disappointment. So you kind of have to weigh cost of the product versus, you know, performance kind of stuff. So overall, none of them I think are way overrated. There are certain products from certain brands and I'm like, really guys? But as a whole brand, not so much. What is my favorite drugstore product under $5? Well, I used to talk about this a lot. I don't talk about it much anymore on my channel, but I can assure you I use this product almost every single day, and I have 4 backups of this. It is this sad little thing. It is the Wet n Wild single eyeshadow in the shade Brulee. Look at that pan. That is not something you see very often in my collection. This is the best eyeshadow for people with my skin tone, because it is basically the color of my skin. It is very opaque. It is far superior to the MAC Brulee or MAC Vanilla. I use this as a brow highlight. I use this to blend out when I've been a little too heavy-handed or there's too much pigmentation. I use it kind of as like a little makeup eraser on the side if I've blended out too far. It's just so multi-purpose, and depending where you find it, the price runs anywhere from like 99 cents to $1.19, so well under the $5 mark. What is a hidden gem from the drugstore that no one talks about? I feel like nobody gives love to this little guy. This is, the full name is the NYX Professional Makeup Tinted Brow Mascara, specifically the blonde one, because Blonde is tricky. I've said this so many times. I can't speak to the other colors in this product line, but many blonde eyebrow products run I can't say, W's and R together is hard. Run not just warm, but red. I don't want red eyebrows. I do not have red hair. What's great about this is even if my brow pencil is more of a brown, slap this on top, it almost tints my brows, but it's not permanent. It just takes down the tone of my brows and makes them a little more blonde. So this is a little magic product right here, and nobody talks about it. Question number 6, what is my favorite drugstore foundation? Well, up until fairly recently, it was the Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation. They have discontinued it, and I found a new favorite. It's what I've been wearing lately, and a lot of you have commented that my makeup is looking particularly good, my skin's looking fresh, especially on Instagram, and it's this guy. I've been using this off and on since January, but pretty much on since May, early June. It is the L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Serum Foundation. I'm currently right now wearing it in the shade Rose Ivory, which is 15. Oh, if you are a normal to dry skinned person, I don't know about oily. This stuff is incredible. It has SPF 50, which is great, but it just kind of melts with your skin and just makes it look healthy. And there is good coverage. I'd say it's medium coverage. I like putting it on with either my fingers or a beauty blender. It's just fabulous, and the shade range is great, and the squeezy tube is great. It's outstanding. New favorite right here. Number 7, what products do I tend to buy more at the drugstore versus high-end? Without a doubt, that would have to be mascara. And again, it's going to be the L'Oreal Infallible. Is it the L'Oreal Infallible? I just opened a new one. L'Oreal Voluminous Lash Paradise Mascara. I literally just opened this morning. There is almost nothing more satisfying than a brand new tube of mascara. I love this mascara, but just reaching in, it seems to be L'Oreal mascaras in particular. This is in my mascara drawer right now. One of them's a primer, Age Perfect mascara, also fabulous, telescopic. This is the Bambi Eye. I also really like CoverGirl ones, Essence, which is sometimes at the drugstore, sometimes not. Mascaras in general, I would say I buy a lot more of those at the drugstore versus high-end. I do buy high-end ones too, but we're asking which I buy more of. Number 8, what drugstore brand do I think is overpriced? This one was easy. I'm counting Target as drugstore. If you can get it at Target, because you can get your groceries there and like everything else there, but groceries, throw in a couple makeup items, no one's the wiser, right? Pixie Beauty, I don't know how, I mean, now they're carrying more higher end brands at places like Target, but back in the day, Pixie Beauty, $20 for an eyeliner, you know, across the aisle from Maybelline, like, I never understood the line being at Target. It seemed very strange to me. Those prices, and I'm not saying it's bad quality. The product is generally really good. Well, that's not true. I found it to be hit or miss. But at those prices, I would expect to see that at Sephora or on the other side of Ulta, not the drugstore side. It just doesn't seem to fit into the drugstore aisle. So Pixie Beauty it is. What is my favorite drugstore dupe? It has been a while since I've thought about duping drugstore products. Isn't that funny? Like that used to just consume me. And now I'm going to go back to some old school stuff. The one that stands out the most is the Benefit Rockateur Blush, which is a product nobody talks about anymore. It's this beautiful, rosy, shimmery shade. And an exact dupe from it is from CoverGirl. It's from their Classic Color Blush in the shade Soft Mink. I have a whole video actually, I'm pretty sure I have a video duping these two. Side by side, on skin, completely identical. In the pan, not so much. And then the other ones are the L'Oreal Infallible eyeshadows, specifically Iced Latte is a dead-on dupe for, this is very old school packaging, Steal a Kitten. And again, in the package, you're like, not so much. But swiped next to each other, you cannot tell the difference. And then the Infallible Amber Rush is a dead-on dupe for Makeup Geek's Grandstand, which, you know, isn't a huge, like, high-end anymore, but it is more expensive. So those are the ones that come to mind. Just this whole L'Oreal Infallible eyeshadow line has some incredible, they're the most creamy, pigmented, beautiful foil-like shadows. So if you haven't tried any of those, if you've walked past them at the drugstore, give them a look. I should also mention the whole CoverGirl True Naked line. So they have Peach Punch. Oops. Not 100% of a dupe, but they even got the smell right to dupe the Too Faced Peach palette right there. A lot of overlap. Even more of an overlap, I'd say, from that same line is the True Naked Roses palette. Looks a lot like the Urban Decay Naked 3. Eerily so, right? There's a lot more from this line. The Smoky palette was a lot like, which Urban Decay Naked was it? I forget. They had a smoky one. The CoverGirl True Naked Goldens is a dupe for, they're all starting to blend together. Basically, they've duped every Urban Decay palette with one of these. How about that? Even down to my favorite, this is very similar to the original Naked palette that I'd have to dig out of storage, but they really got close there. Number 10, what is the best drugstore eyeshadow formula? I would have said it's the Marnie, the square gold palettes, like the Bold Obsessions palette. Just, I mean, the most pigmented, creamy, blendable, colored selection, fabulous. But Marnie said, you know what? We have the best eyeshadow formula on the market. Let's discontinue it. That makes perfect sense. So I would say right now, I am a huge fan of the Profusion line. I haven't really talked much about it. I have a lot of their palettes. Here's their Naturals palette. I mean, they're big. I love this one, the Chocolates palette. Look how pretty that is with a few pops of color, but generally very neutral. My favorite colorful palette would be Festival. I actually like their slightly smaller palettes. I had one that I loved, Smoky, I think it was, dropped it. But look at these, and they're creamy, and they're soft, and they're so inexpensive. I mean, we're talking $5, $6, like I think under 10 for this one. So I would say these are probably my current favorite drugstore formula, but I have to give a shout out to a particular palette, not across the brand. I wish I could say the whole brand is amazing in their eyeshadow formulation, but L'Oreal, and this could go with another hidden gem that nobody talks about, the L'Oreal Paradise Enchanted palette. This palette is incredible. The most creamy, beautiful, the mattes are creamy, the shimmers and metallics are creamy. There's some fun pops of color. It's so soft. This is like 2 years old and it feels like I just opened it. I mean, just gorgeous. Look at that. So I don't know why nobody talks about this, but this particular shadow formulation is probably my favorite from the drugstore, just this one palette. Now on the flip side, the next question is, what is the worst eyeshadow formulation? I don't have it with me anymore because I decluttered it pretty quickly, but LA Girl to me has been incredibly disappointing in their eyeshadow palettes. They're just kind of hard, they don't blend, they're not soft and creamy. They have other good products, but their eyeshadow to me has been fairly not great. Number 12, I'm gonna read this one. Drugstore brand you used to love but aren't crazy about anymore. I would have to go with Wet n Wild. I still like a lot of their products, obviously. The Brulee is a standout here. But I remember when I used to stalk my grocery store and the drugstore for their latest collection release. I like had to have it. I loved everything they released, from their nail polishes to their lipsticks to the eyeshadows, just everything. Now it's very young, which is fine if you are young. I am not. So just nothing is really appealing to me when they do a release. It just is like, oh, great. Wish you'd come out with the old stuff again. That's kind of where I am with Wet n Wild. Number 13, drugstore product that I didn't expect to like, but what totally wowed me would have to be this, the Physicians formula, the Healthy Foundation. When I saw it online and I saw this big doe foot applicator for a foundation, I was like, really? And I had read, oh yeah, I read it smells like paint still. And so when I went to review this, I had an attitude and definitely a preconceived notion about this. So that video was not positive. But then watching more people that I trust very much in their reviews continue to rave about it, I was like, all right, let's give this another go. And lo and behold, this little gem turned out to be amazing, amazing. And just like Marnie, Physicians Formula said, hey, we've got one of the most talked about foundations on YouTube. Let's discontinue it. Like, I would love to talk to these people and ask them, like, why? Okay. Last question, number 14, favorite affordable eyeshadow palette right now. That would have to be this one from e.l.f., the New Classics. And again, talking about people talking about it on YouTube, I would have passed right over this thing. and I had to pass over this many times. When I see a palette of this size at the drugstore that is so inexpensive from a brand like e.l.f., I assume it's going to be not great. But Jessica Braun raved about this for so long that I figured I'll buy it. It's not a huge investment. And she turned out, as always, which is why I trust her reviews, to be right. It's what I'm wearing right now. These colors are fun, they're wearable, they're creamy, they blend nicely. I don't have to think too hard about putting them on. I will wear and do wear every single shade in this palette, even this green one here. Where is it? I'm wearing this green one right now, greenish yellow on my lids. It's a beautiful palette. If you haven't tried it, believe the hype. It's fabulous. I still haven't tried, there's like directions on the back of color combinations. One of these days I will try it. Well, I could have talked forever. I love tags. I love it when someone comes up with questions and then all I have to do is answer them. Makes filming a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you enjoyed hearing my answers. Everything will be listed down in the description box, including the full list of questions. If you feel like tackling this yourself, please let me know. Please tag me, tag Jen. Go check out Jen's channel if you haven't, and Jessica Braun's. I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, go give her a look. I think you'll really very much enjoy both of those ladies. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.